Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Marasanico. Welcome to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. The A Train to Sedona is also the name of a book I wrote, a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. I wrote the book in the hope that my experiences and my journey would inspire yours. You can purchase a signed copy of the book on my website, lindamarasanico.com, on Buy the Book page. You can also get a regular copy from retail stores and bookstores. Let's remember that in New York City, the A train is an express train. So hop on board. Now I have a free gift for you. I call it the cheat sheet for high vibration living. 7 tips on how to keep your vibration vibrant in a very changing and challenging world. There are 7 tips, as I mentioned, and an example is tip number 2, a walking meditation. Remind yourself of how to connect with Mother Earth as you stay in the present moment. You can download this free gift at lindamarasanico.com. I have 2 disclaimers. One is that this broadcast does not establish a professional relationship. And 2, that the opinions expressed on this broadcast do not represent Talk Radio New York City. My guest today is Neo Davila, also known as Neo Positivity. Born and raised in America's poorest and most dangerous city, Neo has firsthand experience in transforming life trajectories and altering mindsets. Discovering the law of attraction in March 2008 sparked his obsession, leading to his early retirement from the police department just 8 months later. Over the past 16 years, Neo has interviewed over 2,000 mindset specialists, integrating their greatest techniques with his own. Transitioning from working over 40 hours a week to retiring at the age of 28, Neo is not only a father and avid pilot, but also a keynote speaker, MC, and the voice of the Thoughts Become Things movement. Neo, welcome to the A Train to Sedona.
Thank you, Linda. It is an honor to be here, and it's great to see and talk to you again. It's been a little bit.
It was 8 years ago that you hosted me for my first podcast.
Nice.
I had seen you on Facebook, and I reached out to you and I said, can I do a podcast with you? And so we had the podcast. And yesterday I listened to it, and it's entitled Spirituality and Science. And we had fun. We laughed. We shared a lot of information. So on this show, I have a question for you. Would you share something about your past and how it brings you on your journey to where you are now?
I'd have to just say change. Expecting change, accepting change, allows change. And that's how you get unstuck. And without meeting people like you and the internet and YouTube and just being curious, I wouldn't have experienced any of that. Most of my relatives, everyone I went to high school with, is still in the same town doing the same thing in the same areas on rinse and repeat. And it just wasn't me. So yeah, change is huge for me.
And with change, it takes a lot of courage to face the unknown.
Yeah, as people, we like to stay in our comfort zone.
Oh, yes.
And as soon as something begins to seem like it's going to change, we start grasping for ways to feel better about our control over the situation. And it's a degree of letting go that's absolutely necessary for you to excel to the levels that you want to be at, as opposed to just remaining stagnant.
Well, I think you've taken a lot of letting go and leaps. I didn't know that you were a pilot.
Yeah, that came probably after we did our show. I've always wanted to be a pilot my whole life, but you know, they always said you had to have 20/20 vision, and I needed glasses to see far away growing up. So it was just totally taken out of my realm of possibility as a child. Um, because they won't let you in with glasses, or they wouldn't back then. But then, laser eye surgery came out, and I got that, to run the streets of Camden and be a cop. And after I retired from the police department with this whole new law of attraction thing, I said, the sky, don't ever tell me the sky's the limit with his footprints on the moon. And yeah, so I just manifested my pilot's license. And so now I fly airplanes, helicopters, paramotors, anything that can go in the air. Technically, I can fly it.
That's pretty exciting, Neil.
I love it. Anything in the air, even remote control airplanes. I've got, I think, 24 airplanes and probably 30 drones, a couple helicopters. I'm just obsessed with flight and a flight simulator for when it's raining outside. you
Am I?
gotta you gotta find what you love and then find a way to do it every day. There's a free way to do it every day, so there's no excuse. Or slightly cheaper. It's not like, flying an airplane may cost $200 an hour, but I can get on a flight simulator and feel amazing for $69 once for the simulator. I can fly whenever I want.
Do you have a simulator in your home?
Yes, that's why I have four screens in front of me, because it feels like I'm in a cockpit. I have the whole yoke, all the controls and switches. Now that costs a lot more than $69, but the basic program is $69, which allows me to do what I love the most every single day, regardless of the weather outside, regardless of the internet. As long as I got power and a screen, I can get in the air up here.
Would you tell us something about the transition? You mentioned you were a police officer. You made the transition because you learned about the law of attraction. But tell us a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the transition.
Well, my old partner was a retired CIA agent, and he tells me about this movie that they make all of their academy recruits watch every year. Now, I'm gonna add this in there. Fast forward, I found out later on that they make their rookies or everybody in training camp watch the same movie for every team in the NFL, NBA, NHL, and the baseball league too. They're all watching this movie every year in training camp, mandatory. And so anyway, go back. My old partner told me about this movie, and we're cops. I'm on a SWAT team. I'm expecting it to be like rapid deployment shooter type. No, it's a movie called The Secret, which
Oh,
I know that you're very familiar with. And it might shock a lot of people to find out that they're playing this in every NFL locker room every season for everybody on the team. So, anyway, you know the movie. You see it's on my shirt, Thoughts Become Things. That's when I learned this phrase. And it just filled in all the puzzle pieces for me that were missing about my childhood and the way I would act. Quick example: before football games, I went to a bad high school, so we never had night games because there would be shootings and stuff. So we always had Saturday morning games, and I would go out to the field hours before the game, and I would just stand there and I would stare. And I'll spare you all the details, but I was basically visualizing, and I didn't know. Um, so anyway, watching The Secret filled in all these puzzle pieces about my past, and it gave me a great outlook for the future. It wasn't just random. These things could happen to me if I'm lucky enough. I don't believe in luck anymore after watching that movie. And it really gave me a grasp on my future. I had to just learn the formula. From there, I went straight to YouTube. I went to interviewing people like you. Anyone who knew about this law of attraction thing, this energy and manifesting, I needed to interview them on Facebook, wherever I could, so that I can pick your brain and pull out all your little tips and tricks to use for myself. And then later on, once they started to work, and I knew they would work, whether you're tall, short, old, young, no matter who you were, if they worked for everybody, I would do a video about it on Facebook. So that was the transition. Little things started happening, little phone calls. I started manifesting things, and I said, you know what? If I can manifest something small, I can manifest retirement. And that's what I did. Wrote me a little check with what I would get every month, put it under my pillow. I put one in my wallet, all this other stuff. And I started doing all these mental exercises, started creating my own mental exercises, which is where it really started to work. Because for Oprah Winfrey to say, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, she's going to get a different feeling and response mentally than if someone who's never had that much money like me in the past to say that. When I said that back in the day, my ego would step in and say, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you won't, no, you can't, how dare you dream that big. So I had to come up with my own exercises that would allow me to sit in that space, to vibrate at that frequency and magnetize that future to myself. And as the months went on, the exercises got stronger. They were working more. I was field testing them on family members to see who could do what. And I ended up with a great formula for success. And like I said, 8 months later, I ended up in a situation where I was basically given an option, to retire or not. And I definitely took it.
What a lovely story. And
Yeah.
very interesting about the secret. When you were talking about wanting to manifest and something coming in and saying, no, you can't do that. In our broadcasts of spirituality and science, which can be downloaded, not downloaded, but listened to on my website at lindamarasanico.com on the media page. But in that broadcast, you mentioned Sparky. Is he still around?
Different names. I when you come up with a mental exercise that you're doing, there may be one thing about it that just doesn't sit right, and you tweak it differently. You tweak it, you give it different names. Um, so for me, Sparky was something that would spark something in my mind, but it's transitioned 50 different ways over and split 90 different ways because I'm a professional trier. I just try different exercises to get different things, to get different results and feelings out of myself. So
Mhm.
yeah, I you may have to actually tell me what exactly Sparky was back then.
He was your ego.
Oh, that voice. I mean,
This is 8 years ago. Go ahead.
that has transitioned 90 different thousand times because every name I give it, I'm trying to take a little bit of power away from it. So it means less to me when it says you can't. How dare you dream that big? And it's been everything from a dog um, trying to get your attention and you're just kind of shooing it away. It's
Yeah.
jumping on your leg to a room full of reporters raising their hands. Hey, entertain this idea. Entertain this idea. And you're just, I don't want to, I got that from Untethered Soul. It's a really amazing book. You probably know about it. But yes, referring to that ego in as many different ways as you can, degrading, taking down its power so it
Yeah.
cannot. For one, like I said, from Untethered Soul, recognizing that it's not your voice, it's a suggestion,
Hmm.
that takes away so much power right there. But you got to be in the moment to do that, which requires a bunch of different other mental exercises. So yeah, it's definitely a large part of what we do.
I'd like you to hold that thought. We need to take a commercial break, and I'm wanting to come back to hear what you call your ego today. So there we are, off to a break now.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona. Somehow I've lost the big screen, but I hope you can still hear and see us. Before we took our break, I asked Neo if he would tell us the name that he's given to his ego. It would be a more gentle or, in a sense, a less powerful name. Neo, would you share that with us?
You know, it's going to be custom for everyone. And I encourage everyone to continually rework and optimize the way you think. But for me, there was nothing I could do more to strip the power away than to take its name. And I go back to my childhood or playing video games or whatever. When something's annoying me, like if I'm losing in a game and the person I'm losing to is just, yapping in my ear, I say, bruh, that's my thing. Bro, chill. And that's the voice. When the voice is saying all those things that it says, you can't, how dare you, you won't. I'm just like, bro, chill. Like, we got this. Look at all the stuff we've done. And that leads me to the next sentence. Look at all the stuff we've done in the past, all that we've accomplished, all the hurdles we've gone over. This is nothing. This is just you being paranoid. And then you kind of talk it off the ledge at that point. And it could be a long talk, or you can condition yourself to where it's quick. Bro, I got this. And then you just move on to your confidence. So yeah, for me, it's nothing better than stripping it of a name completely.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It becomes nameless.
Boom. I love it. I actually had a ferret once. I've had a bunch of ferrets in my life, but I was thinking of the best, or I say the hardest name that I could give it. And and I don't mean hard like difficult, but like hard, like, in my culture we would say hard. And I ended up not giving him a name. Like, there's no name that goes stronger than no name. And a total different principle besides from this ego thing. But it makes me think back to that. And yeah, so that's it. It's just like, bro, chill. I got this. And with that demeanor, everything you saw on my face when I just said that, it just diminishes all of the power that would have been coming with all of the proof. Because when the ego comes, it comes with proof from your past and things you've experienced to prove to you that this is going to be difficult and darn near impossible. And getting through that is that's the key to manifesting, to living the life that you want to live.
When you were talking about your simulator and piloting and the toys that you have, a young happy child came out. And it seems to me that you are very much in touch with that happy child. Would you share something about that?
A long time ago, when I first learned about and got into the law of attraction, they were like, toys and money, you don't need that, and da da da. But I know me, and I want that. I want to smile while I'm here.
Yeah.
And the things that I enjoy, my kids enjoy too. And if we can play a game together and laugh to the point where time flies by, that type of laughter, that type of fun, then let's do that. Let's enjoy that. Let's manifest the board game, the video game, to get us to do that. Me and my son, we love going to the park. Let's manifest the park right up the street. And so, it's just acknowledging that these are things in life to enjoy, and then going to get them, to spend as many moments in joy as you can throughout the day.
Yes.
That's me. Let's do it. I retired. I retired in 2008, and I always say I haven't taken a day off ever since, until around this year, beginning of this year. And it was because I'm working on this mental exercises all day, every day, because I love working on it and it's fun. But at the end of the day, I'm retired. I need to enjoy this. So yes, I'll get the toys that I like and I'll play with them.
Are you still in visualization, manifesting for 2 hours a day?
At least from midnight till at least 2 o'clock in the morning. The family sleep, everything's quiet. I don't have to worry about my kids driving around or at work. And that is when I can really get peaceful. And I got to be honest, it never ends before 3. Never.
So it's more than 2 hours now. It's 3.
Well, that's just the nighttime. Remember, throughout the day, all day throughout the day, I'm doing these little mental exercises. It's funny you bring this up. So many people look at me and they're like, Neo, I want to think like you, I want to be like you so I can manifest, da, da, da. But are you putting in the work?
Mm-hmm.
So everywhere in my house, there are triggers somewhere to wake me up to do some kind of mental exercises. I don't know if you've seen this.
What is that?
It's a poker chip.
Oh,
And on
yeah.
one side, it just has my face. It says neopositivity.com. It says thank you. And on the back, it says thoughts become things. Stay focused. This is a token to me.
Mm-hmm.
From The Secret, they said go outside and pick up a pebble. This is actually a piece of a volcano that I got in Costa Rica, and it was just on my desk.
Mm.
But in the movie, I picked up a pebble, I put it in my pocket, like they said. This is when I first saw The Secret. And every time I reached in my pocket, I felt it. I said, what's that? I said, oh, that's the pebble. And that was my wake up reminder to do my mental exercises. Well, I lost a couple pebbles. And I said, you know what? And I was living in New Jersey. I said, if I get a poker chip from Atlantic City worth $50, I'm not going to lose that. So that's what I did. I got a poker chip. I still have it in this drawer right here to this day. And because it was worth something, I knew I wouldn't lose it. And so I ended up making my own poker chip, that I can give to people that they can use as a token. And it says thank you on it, not thanking people for purchasing this from me, because you can get it from my website. But thank you is one of the ultimate affirmations. And a lot of times I'll feel the poker chip in my pocket and I'm like, ooh, what am I working on? Well, I want to manifest this and I want to get that. And then my phone rings and I never get to do it. And so if you can't think of a mental exercise to do, just say thank you 10 times or yes 10 times. And that's why I put that on there. But it's these reminders that I have all around my house. I have a dollar bill taped up on the wall in my bathroom. I have all these beads that I pray. I guess they're prayer beads, but I just use them as accountability to do all 10 of my mental exercises. But all day, every day, you can't stop. You gotta program your brain's muscle to work the way you want it to work. And as soon as you stop, 5 minutes later, a commercial or a Facebook post is reprogramming it back to where it was. So it's a constant thing, constant repetition every day. And I've accepted it's going to be like this for the rest of my life if I want to continue to live like this, which I do. Very much.
Yes. I mean, the ego is ever present, fear is ever present, self-doubt. And so being where you are is a very important discipline. And I know you are very disciplined.
It's the thing about the ego, you got to learn to love it as much as you dislike it. As a police officer, a lot of people probably don't realize this, but at 2 a.m, when you're chasing a bad guy down an alleyway or down the street, he's going to turn a corner before you at some point. You're going to lose sight of him for at least a second at some point. And so picture you're chasing this guy. He makes a left at a brick building. You can't see him for a second. He could stop and point his gun and wait for you to turn that corner. And it's those type of situations where you need to be paranoid. You need to assess everything. And it's my ego that kept me alive. Questioning, doubting, should I do this? Should I do that, from every angle? So as much as your ego is breaking your back saying, how dare you dream that big? It's also keeping you alive when you're about to make a left at that yellow light, or you're about to make this decision. So it's there for you in all different ways. It just might not seem like it sometimes.
Yes, it's a handy kind of guide in the third dimension, right?
And there's two sides to every coin. There's two sides to every coin. When you say, I'm rich, and the ego says, how dare you dream that big? Have you ever done that? How many people do you know have ever done that? There's a reason it's doing that. Dissect that, figure out what that is, and then you can excel to the next level. As opposed to just hating it, because hating the ego, which is a part of you, is hating you, which manifests more hating you, and you don't want to do that.
So when you dissect that, could you share a little bit about that?
Well, the ego works with your subconscious to bring you back to this moment. So when you're dreaming about a future Disneyland, a future being rich, or thinking about something that happened last week, 10 years ago, you're not present. And the ego and the subconscious want you present in every moment. So it's going to use everything that you know from your past or scenarios from the future. It's going to throw it at you and say, that's not happening. That can't happen. How dare you? It just wants to bring you back to this moment. So it's just doing its job in that sense. And why does it want to bring you back to this moment? Eckhart told you the power of now. This moment is everything. You've never seen, touched, or tasted anything from your future. And your past is just reminiscence of previous this moments, but everything you've ever done and everything you ever will do, you will do in this seemingly reoccurring current moment. That's all we have. And that's why the subconscious and the ego are always working together. The subconscious being your database of everything you know about everything you've ever known, and the ego being the thing that accesses that database to throw at you scenarios to wake you up to this moment. They're just doing their job. And once you accept and learn that, you hate it a little less, just a little bit.
Well, I think of the moment as being a very powerful space to be in. It is said that all things are possible in the present moment. So meditation, affirmations, mantras, disciplined work that you do, it's in the moment and it's very precious.
Like I said, have you ever seen, touched, or tasted a future? No one has. Same thing with the past. It's just us reliving this same current moment over and over and over again. So that's literally all we have. And to spend time elsewhere, I guess that's blasphemous. And that's why the ego is pulling us back to this moment. If you ask Dolly Parton, one of the greatest, LeBron James, one of the greatest, they always talk about staying present. They always talk about being present. Dolly Parton suggests to all her speakers, all her singers, that the day that they're going to sing, take as many deep breaths as they can that day. What does a deep breath do? Brings you back to the moment. Follow the greats.
Very good advice. We're soon coming to another break. And I do want to ask you, what is the role of spirituality in your life? And to me, when we're loving and kind, when we're loving and compassionate, I should say, we're spiritual. But I'd like you to give that some thought, and we'll come back after the break and talk a little bit about that. Okay, we'll have the break.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona with Neo Davila, also known as Neo Positivity. Before the break, I have asked Neo to think about the role of spirituality in his life and how he shows love and compassion to himself and others. Neo?
First of all, I'm a different beast than I was 8 years ago. Just constant growth, acceleration, and my frequency just rising every day. I am a spiritual being experiencing the physical realm, like an amusement park. And through that thought process, I see everyone else and everything else as just energy, vibration, frequency. Every interaction I have, be it just moving my arm to the right, is vibrating this large energy wave that we are, this one single large energy wave that we are. And that thought process, that foundation, allows me to automatically see things differently, respond differently, act differently, love differently, feel differently about everything, from my neighbor to my car to my kids to this microphone. And that's what it is for me. It's just one big wave. And I'm very conscious of my thoughts and how I feel and think about things, like getting cut off on the highway. And as opposed to turning into a raging, Hulk, realizing I wasn't meant to be at that red light at that time. That person could have just saved my life. And I'm so quick to do that I'm actually proud of myself, because I obviously, where I come from, the hood, everybody's very defensive to the point where they shoot at each other over smallest arguments. Mm. So yeah, that's my take on that. But I do want to ask you though, because I know it's your show and you're hosting, you're trying to get all this information out of me. It's been so long. I'd like to hear how you've progressed in that area since the last show.
I am constantly working on myself. So I have to tell you what happened to me yesterday. I went to the post office to mail gifts to my grandchildren in California. Very late to be mailing them. They should get there. So I go to the post office, and I'm proud of myself how I handled all of this. That's why I'm sharing it. Although in my book, I share lots of failures. I go to the post office at 9:06. It hasn't been opened yet. I wait until 9:20. It's still not opened. It's shuttered. So I walked about 3/4 of a mile to a bigger post office, and there was one woman serving people and another woman handling passports. So after about half an hour, one woman had pulled off the line to do paperwork, and another man was there for about 5 or 6 or 7 minutes because of his post box not working. He went off the line to do paperwork. So I'm standing about ready to be served, praying and meditating to be loving and compassionate, no irritation. I don't want any of it. I just want to be in the moment. And the woman who had stepped off the line to do paperwork steps right in front of me, which is her right, and she gets handled. And it doesn't get handled quickly. And then after the man comes up and he's ready to be serviced. And I'm praying and meditating. And the woman, who's very efficient, the postal worker, said, "Sir, I'm going to take care of this woman, me. She's been waiting, and I know I have to get on a computer for you. I'll handle you just after I handle her." And I believe that my energy, the loving energy she felt. So I thanked her. I walked back past the original post office, and they were still waiting online. It had not been opened. And I did a little video on Facebook to share it with everybody, because I felt very pleased that through inconvenience and some difficulties that the post office is having, a dysfunction, I was able to be loving and compassionate. And I work to do that every day. I smile rather than frown. I'm working to not get rid of, but to let go of judgments. And I manifested this radio show. Before my publisher came to me, I had said earlier that week, I want to be on radio. And I think that I've wanted to be on radio, Neo, for all of my life. Yeah. And so she calls me, there's an opportunity here, and here I am. You are my 8th or 9th show. And I'm continuing in January. So I'm doing well. And going past my comfort zone, doing workshops, and I want to be doing keynote speaking as well.
One of my biggest lessons probably in 2022 or 2023 was to get out of my comfort zone. As you can imagine, I've been retired since 2008. I got money. I got my flight simulator. I got airplanes, helicopters. I got everything I need right here. Why would I ever want to leave the house? And so I kind of get in that mode. I'm a homebody. Like I pick my son up from school, and outside of that, us taking a golf cart to the park. I don't really go many other places because everything's here and it's so comfortable. So when they ask me to go to these conferences, which I had never been to a conference before, it's just like so out of my comfort zone. And they ask me to go to these places and these countries and do these things. But I notice that every time I step out of my comfort zone, my frequency goes through the roof. My paycheck goes through the roof. The amount of people I affect go through the roof. And so now I'm doing, well, I probably did 16 conferences this year.
Wonderful.
And then I went to Costa Rica. I just got back from Costa Rica yesterday. That was the first stamp I ever had on my passport. Like I was always scared to go to countries like that. And as a test to stay positive, being in those seemingly third world countries, like Costa Rica is not a third world country, but there are places that we pass by that was just depressing.
Yeah.
Constantly having to remind myself that, I'm in Costa Rica. I'm about to go rappelling and horseback and ATV. Try not to let this get me down. Like it is a testament. And I'm proud of you for being in that situation. That those in the mail and the post office, that's some of the hardest lines to stand in. And one time I was there and similar situation. I was like the fourth person in line and people were scattering to go sign stuff and write stuff and jumping right back in front of me. And I'm not used to that. I didn't know that they were allowed to jump back in front of you. Anywhere else you get back in the back of the line, you should have had it filled out before you got there. But the guy in the passport office, he said, "Hey, come here." I went back there, he took care of me. And I left. And so when you were telling that story, I was like, oh man, that's happened to me once. But yes, while you're in the thick of it, that is the most critical point. When you get that bad news, that bad email, how you handle that mentally, physically, emotionally is going to determine what's going to happen next. And I look forward to those instances. I think I had this back in the day, but I call it a beautiful tennis match. When I ask the universe for something, it's like me hitting the ball in a tennis match. And I developed this saying that no matter what you ask for, the universe will always show, if not prove to you, that you cannot have it. In other words, doors will close. And it's how you respond to that determines if and when you get it. So when you ask the universe for something, you hit the ball, and then the universe is going to close that door. No, it's going to show you can't have it. That's the universe hitting the ball back. Now it's my turn. How am I going to respond? Am I going to cry about it? Am I going to go to Facebook? Am I going to give up? Or am I going to say, no, I refuse to give up. I know that I'm going to have this, and hit the ball back. And so in order for this tennis match to play out, I have to get that door slammed on me. So when I do get that bad email, that phone call, I actually get excited. Okay, it's my turn now. The ball's in my court now. It's my turn to respond. And so that's how I take those situations. And I commend you on being able to handle the post office is a difficult one. You never know how long you're going to be in there.
This is true. It reminds me of a time, at least 10 years ago. I was looking for a Wednesday office. And I went to Doorman's. This is in Manhattan. And I went to Doorman and I networked, no office. I sort of had a tantrum with God, and I let it go. A year and a half later, I get an email. There's an office for rent right where I wanted it to be for a Wednesday. I went to look at it. It was stunningly beautiful, but it was full time. I said, well, I only want it for Wednesday. And she said, well, I'll let you know if I can't rent it. And it was mine. The Wednesday became available, and it was my favorite office. So there are times that when I request something, because I co-create, I say, thank you so much. This is what I want. And I know that you have the greatest wisdom. It's in my best interests. I defer to you. And when I looked for a home in Sedona, I looked for 2 years and gave up. I said, it's not the time. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And then I got an email from a realtor, a dear friend of mine. And I traveled to Sedona, looked at the house, spent 2 hours in it, and knew it was the house that I wanted. So we have to be patient and not give up faith. Because divine right timing is something to be reckoned with.
Yeah, once you put a timeline on something, that's your timeline.
Yeah.
The universe, that's not the universe's, that's not your neighbor's, that's something you just made up. So how dare you be upset when it doesn't come when you know, I had to wrap my head around that a long time ago in order to give. There's two other things you mentioned I really want to key in on. And the one is letting go. It's like looking for your car keys. You look, you can't find it, you can't find it. You let go, you find it. Use that as often as you possibly can. Use that letting go to get there. It might sound like it's the wrong thing to do. Just try it. If you can't find your car keys, you can't find them anyway. Just stop, breathe, go to the bathroom, walk around the house, think about something else, and it's going to pop up. The other thing that you touched on briefly when you first started was the tantrum. I have gotten some of my quickest and best results from tantrums, and it's so weird to even say out loud. But you know, from midnight till 2 a.m, I do my thing. A lot of times it's in the garage because no one can hear my crazy thoughts going where they go. So every now and then I'll be 2 years into a project and I'll be wondering why it isn't happening. I've met all the right people. I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing the mental exercises. Da, 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 da. How has it not come to fruition yet? And I'll just be very upset at the universe because of whatever circumstances happened that day. And I'll go in the garage and I will have a tantrum. And I'll be like, what's going on? I'm doing this. I'm doing everything. I should have by now. And it'll get to the point where I'm feeling downright disrespectful to God or God universe, whatever you believe created things and as it goes. But I allow it. I allow myself to do that tantrum. I allow myself to even curse. Because at the end of the day, that's me. That's my essence that I'm talking to. And it knows where I'm coming from. And I gotta tell you, when I have these tantrums, the next day I wake up with an email that solved everything.
Whoa.
Tenfold, which makes me welcome when I'm feeling that. Now, it's not often. And the tantrums, you always end in me smiling and saying, man, I got this. But allowing that let go of emotion has been very, very impactful and powerful in my life.
Wow. It's quite a story. The tantrum. We have a commercial break coming up. And when we come back, I'd like to have you talk a bit about dreaming big. You mentioned it in the first podcast, Science and Spirituality, and you've alluded to it today, or maybe you even said it today, but I'd like to hear a bit more about that.
Definitely.
So we're off to a break.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona with my guest, Neo Davila, also known as Neo Positivity. So Neo, we're talking about dreaming big.
I guess I was just born that way because everything I've ever done, I wanted to be number one, not in the room, not in the country, on the planet. And let's just use running, for example. I was never the fastest guy on my football team. And I knew that some people were just naturally blessed. Maybe they had a harder work ethic on top of that. But I could be the best player on the team. And because I couldn't be the fastest and was never the fastest, I learned how to be the best me that I could be. Better than the me 5 minutes ago, better than the me 1 second ago. And that was good enough. That was good enough to fulfill me and make me feel great because I'm constantly upgrading, optimizing, and being a better person than I was 5 minutes ago, yesterday, a day ago. So that's one thing. That's one side of the coin. Now here's another side of the coin. What we do, awakening people, opening minds. We got to think about who we're challenging, and we're challenging the powers to be that want us to stay where we're at as a society, as a community, to stay asleep, to not see what's going on. So we are taking on the biggest opponents that this world has to offer right now. And I love that. I love that. As a competitive person, who would you want to compete against besides the biggest force on the planet? So let's go. Let's awaken people. Let's take control, and let's not be slaves to this earth anymore. Let's enjoy it. Let's stop destroying the planet with all the products and things that we're putting out there. And I love that you're doing what you do, and I thank you for being a soldier in this war on negativity. I had to say that, and I had to say this too, that there's millions of people out there that you're not going to get to hear say thank you in your lifetime, that have heard your words and that you've affected. And on behalf of all of them, I want to say thank you to you for that, because I never forgot your name. I never forgot your face. You have always been one of, if not the best conversations I've had on these platforms over the years. And that's why we're still in touch now. So I appreciate everything you do.
You touch my heart, Neo. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Definitely.
Can you tell me how you relax?
I'm a relaxed type person. Even when I just got done chasing and hog tying a guy with a gun, I just get back to being me. I've always thought of my job and the things that I do as a business card in my wallet, in my pocket. It's not who I am. It's just a card in my wallet that feeds my wallet, in my pocket. And who I am has always been secure. I've always known who I was. I'm a young Black male, and I'm enjoying it everywhere I can. And I've always been that. I've never been really, really high strung. So when the high strung situations come in, I get to my breathing techniques. I've always been up on breathing techniques, even when I didn't know they were a thing. Growing up with karate and football, when you're out of breath, they're like, breathe, breathe. You get stressed, they say, breathe. Back in the day, I know you remember, you don't see it now, but everybody used to have the brown paper bag. It was at least once time in every movie, somebody was breathing into a paper bag for a couple of years when they got, excited. And, I've always just adapted that, which really, really helps. Wim Hof method, however you need to learn it. I suggest everybody learn a couple breathing techniques and learn that there's a difference between inhaling and exhaling for more seconds. Get into that. It's really, really helpful. And I've always had this one philosophy too, ever since I got out the hood. And it's that it's not going to kill me. You hang up the phone with some bad news, it's not going to kill me.
Right.
I'm going to get through this. And that right there, it just calms me down. And this came later on in my life, but recognizing that in this moment, probably over 80% of the problems that are going on in your life in this moment, you can't do anything about it. The phone call that needs to get made, they don't open till tomorrow. The email that needs to get handled, you haven't received a reply yet. So in this moment right now, I can't do anything about it except wait for that correspondence. So why am I going to stress about it? You know, so a couple realizations over the years have really shaped me to really be calm in a lot of situations.
Would you share your favorite breathing technique?
I just make sure I exhale for more seconds than I inhale, because that puts you in a state of calm.
Mhm.
Vice versa would put you in a state of excitement. And I would say inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for like 6 or 7. Anything over 4, like 5 is good enough. That's the one that I kind of go back to, because the Wim Hof, I think it's like 4, 7, 8. Inhale for, it's inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 8, exhale for 7 seconds.
Mhm.
That would be my second best, but a lot of times I'm focused. I got stuff going on. I just need to make sure that I exhale for more seconds than I inhale. That's my best and most used technique.
Exhaling more deeply than inhaling.
For more seconds.
For more seconds, yeah. Say 4 and then exhale 6 or 7. Calms the nervous system. It oxygenates the cells, it reduces blood pressure, and it encourages and actually engages the parasympathetic nervous system to calm the sympathetic nervous system. So breathing is an essential tool in the spiritual and physical toolkit.
And like I said before, the brain is a muscle. It has muscle memory. The more you do these breathing exercises in these critical and normal moments, the more the brain will remember to do them. So now I've programmed my brain to automatically do them when I get that news. So I don't have to take that extra step. Because if you don't remember to do it, you may stay in a state of panic for 30 minutes before you start exercising all those nerves. So brain muscle exercises, get it right. Practice makes perfect.
Yes, and if we should hang on to something like anger or panic for a time, it registers in every cell, and it takes a while to undo that. So better to have the technique right at hand in your mind, ready to go. And I think there are lots of opportunities today with everything that's going on for us to breathe, breathe, breathe.
Yeah, you got to just make it normal practice. It's got to be a thing for me. Like if I'm lucky enough, I don't believe in luck, but I still use the phrase for all intents and purposes. When I walk from here to the next room, something about me will wake up from the random train of thoughts that's going on and say, hey, do a mental exercise. Well, let's do a breathing technique. That's all it takes. Do that proactively wake up, set an alarm on your phone, whatever, to do that 4 times a day. Tomorrow, your brain will automatically have you do it 3 times. And then you started a pattern, start working on it, and it becomes second nature.
Sounds fabulous, Neo.
It's a great way to live, I'll tell you that.
It's a healthy way.
It is.
So, of all the things that you do, what do you enjoy the most?
That garage time, that alone time. My son is in his room right now, and when I end this, I can do as many mental exercises as I want. But there's gonna be a part of me that's like, I have some crazy ideas sometime. But when he's not here and this house is empty, which is a shame, because I know what do they call it? Mental torture. Most people can't sit in the chair quietly without their phone for 3 minutes without getting antsy. They cannot do it.
Oh.
So for me to have accepted, because I believe this is a part of all of us, boredom is a learned behavior. For me to accept being able to sit still to the point where I enjoy it, it's my most favorite activity. I'm just a total different person than I used to be, and I love it. I look forward to my family going to sleep so I can get to work.
And
Absolutely.
it's quiet time. I know that feeling. How
That's,
long do you sit still without doing anything?
it depends. It depends. I can sit for as long as I put it to you this way. I have a snorkel, a full face snorkel with a thing that comes out the top. So you don't have to touch your nose or you breathe out of both your nose and your mouth, basically. So picture a full face with a tube coming out. The longest I in my pool was 8 feet. So I could stand perfectly still, let my body float where it needed to be, my arms and legs, and have it there. The longest I stayed was 4 hours in one spot. And the only reason I left was because I had to use the bathroom.
4 hours? Wow.
You're underwater, all the sounds, birds, cars, anything gone. And so that's an intense, and that would go from meditating to where I'm trying not to think about any thoughts at all and just keep clearing my mind over and over again. And then a scenario come up that I want to run. And I call it proactive manifesting at that point when I'm running a futuristic scenario that I want to be my future. And I'm really feeling it and enjoying it. I call that proactive manifesting. So I may sit in one spot for hours and do that. And then I get inspired and I'm like, I need to write this down. And I get my iPad and I hit record and dictate whatever I was just saying. And then I go sit back down again. Or I may need to pace back and forth. Whatever it takes, I just trust my gut and do what feels right. And I just speak what comes to me from the universe. And it just ends up being greatness. So I just trust it.
I want to thank you for sharing your secrets, your techniques. I think that you're very generous about that. I want to say that to my listeners that this is a spiritual time of year. A wonderful gift could be buying a copy of the A Train to Sedona to give to your loved ones. I also want to say, Neil, how can people find you?
One-stop shop, neopositivity.com. That's everything from the stuff I do to the social media platforms, videos, everything is right there. Neopositivity.com.
Neil, thank you so much for being on the show with me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for listening and just taking this step to better your future, because you could have done 1,000 things today and you chose to do some mindset work. And I appreciate that.
Be well.
Be well.
We'll take it away, the end of the show. See you next time.